And so getting into Acts of Judgment Day, Deaths of Mutants #2, we actually do pick up with a young girl. Now, when it comes to this young girl, she is very important, but at the same time, she's also reminding us what happened in part 3 of the main series. See, thanks to Tony Stark and a set of other characters, they have made a new god, a new celestial. Now the problem was, as soon as that celestial came to life, it began to judge the entire world and told the entire world that the human race, the Eternals, the mutants, any other race on Earth had basically failed. And so he gave the entire world 24 hours to basically prove that Earth deserves to live. And so when it comes to this young girl, she knows that sooner or later she's going to be judged. Now we do see her on her phone, and apparently she made a new friend in some kind of chat room on some social media app. Either way, when it comes to the person that she's talking to, she realized that this is a new person to this certain app, and she's wondering if they're going to catfish her. But at the same time, they're enjoying their conversation, and their conversation is about the idea of being judged. Now, something else about Deaths of the Mutants #2, it does take place at the same time as Judgment Day #3. Not completely, but most of the book. And the reason why I'm saying that, because we do pick up with the X-Men fighting to help protect Krakoa against the forces of the Eternals. Now we already know at this point the X-Men are going to leave and try to kill the god that is right now judging the entire planet. We saw that in Judgment Day #3, but they were afraid to leave Krakoa defenseless. Luckily for them, some help did come in, and that was the Deviants. Because let's not forget, this entire war between the mutants and the Eternals basically started with the idea that the X-Men, the mutant race, is actually an off branch of the Deviants. And when it comes to the Eternals, they felt like they have the right to go ahead and kill off the mutants because they were coded to kill off Deviants if Deviants go too far. And when it comes to the mutant race, they believe the mutant race has gone too far. There are Deviants who have gone too far. Either way, the Deviants are able to come to Krakoa to help protect this island. Now at the same time, we do kind of learn a tad bit more about Mr. Crow, the leader of the Deviants, throughout the storyline, but at the same time, it's not that important. But you do have the X-Men leave to go on with their plan to hopefully destroy a god. Hey, by the way, spoiler alert, it doesn't work. Now, the next section does take place after Judgment Day #3, where we pick up with Mr. Crow and Emma Frost walking around the island. Now, this is where you have Emma Frost kind of freaking out. And the reason why, because everybody is being judged across the world right now, one by one. But when it came to Emma Frost, she was already judged. And when she was judged, she got a thumbs down. And so right now she's freaking out. And the reason why, because when it comes to the Celestial and his judging ways, he's trying to see what he'll get more, thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, if he does get more thumbs down, then the Earth is going to die. And so he's trying to get more thumbs up to hopefully protect the world. Either way, when it comes to Emma Frost, she got a thumbs down when it came to her judgment. And so now she feels like if the Earth dies, she does have a good reason on why the Earth died, because her fault, not completely, but partially. Now you do have Mr. Crow kind of come in and say, listen, we have this saying when it comes to the Celestials. Now he does curse, but basically it's him saying, hey, forget the Celestials. They suck, they're crappy, and you know what? They can go away. Now, you do have Mr. Crow remember about a time where he was actually judged by one of the many hosts when it comes to the Celestials. Because when it comes to Mr. Crow, he is 2,000 years old. Now, when it comes to most Deviants, they don't live that long. Matter of fact, they die at a younger rate than humans do. Because we cannot forget, when it comes to Deviants, there is a certain point in their lives they kind of go into this evil form of theirs. And when they turn evil, that is when you have Eternal step in and kill them off. Now, that is a very huge thing because when it comes to Mr. Crow, he is 2,000 years old. He never had turned. And that is actually pretty crazy. But we're left to believe that the reason why he has not changed, because when it came to him being confronted by a celestial at one point in the history of deviance, you had this celestial question Mr. Crow, because Mr. Crow led a group of deviants over to meet the celestial. And he's kind of like, why would you bring them here to me for? And you have Mr. Crow tell the celestial that we are hoping that you are a better God. We are hoping that you'll be nicer to us and try to work with us. All I have is good intentions for my people and trying to build a better future. And when it came to that celestial in the past, when it did judge Mr. Crow, it gave him a thumbs up, not a thumbs down. And so we're left to believe that something else could have happened in that moment. But unfortunately, we have no idea. Now, we do see other people also being judged, like Droo. Droo is freaking out. Remember, Droo is the Prime Eternal, but the way he became a Prime Eternal were snake ways, very sneaky, very Loki-like. And so with him doing that, he's wondering when it's his time to come to get judged, will he get a thumbs up or a thumbs down? But if he does get a thumbs down, he'll know that he is part of the reason why the Earth has failed. But then we see the judge go over to Uranus, the grandfather to Thanos, but also Droo. Now, unfortunately, we have no idea what Uranus got here when it came to his judgment. And so then we jump over to a group of Eternals who are technically outcasts. And the reason why, because they had learned the dark secret of the Eternals. Every single time an Eternal dies and they're brought back to life thanks to the Great Machine, a human has to die as a way to bring them back to life. And when it came to this group right here, they're trying to find a different way to technically die and come back to life without the idea of killing off a human. Now, some of these characters were the reason why the Earth is being judged, because they worked with Tony Stark to bring this guy to life. And so right now, when it comes to A.X.E, she says, listen, why not try to talk to the actual judge, the Celestial, to see what he wants, but at the same time, try to understand us. Because honestly, this is a new God. And maybe the reason why, because he's so new, he does not truthfully understand how we all work when it comes to Earth. But at the same time, we need to understand how he works. And so they do go over and try to talk to the Celestial. Except when they do, you have Icarus say, listen, Celestial, Judge, go ahead and kill off all Eternals across the board. Now, when it comes to A.X.E and Makkari, they are not down with that idea. Because those two characters right there, yes, they do know the dark secret, but at the same time, they're kind of like, listen, when it comes to our gods, our creators, the Celestials, they always have a plan. And so, yes, you may have discovered this dark secret and you feel like we all should be killed off. But hey, what if I tell you there could be a hidden plan somewhere and we have not found it yet? Either way, you didn't have the judge begin to judge all four characters, Icarus, Fatos, A.X.E, and Makkari. Now, when it comes to Fatos, he is the only person who had passed. And the reason why, because yes, he was part of the reason why this god came to life. But when it came to the judge, he did ask, if you had the chance to do this all over again, would you bring me back to life? And you have Fatos say, no, I would technically not bring you back to life. And that is why he passed. Because when it came to the judge, he realized that Fatos does not have any regret with the idea of killing a god. Now, Makkari, she also says yes, she would not bring this god back to life. But at the same time, she still failed. And the reason why, because yes, she did agree this god should be stopped. But at the same time, she was trying to find a different way to make this god better. And so that is why she failed. Now, when it came to A.X.E, you have the judge say, I will judge you later on. And the same for Icarus, because those two characters are very interesting to the judge. We did pick up with Cersei, and when we do, we see Cersei and Jack of Knives going to the Excluded. Now remember, when it comes to the Excluded, it is technically an area that belongs to the Eternals. And if you are an Eternal and you break a law, you are banished to the Excluded until farther notice. And so there's one person who's been kept down there for a good period of time, and that would be Star Fox, the brother to Thanos. And this is very important. And the reason why, because when it came to Star Fox, they locked him up because they were afraid of the idea that Star Fox could be used to bring Thanos back to life. Now we already know Thanos was brought back to life in a different way, but for right now, they were saying we locked him up because we were afraid that you could have brought Thanos back to life. But you have Cersei and Jack of Knives breaking him out of the Excluded. And the reason why? Because they feel like he could be the key to save the entire world. But then we jump over to the young girl we saw at the very beginning of this video. And when it comes to her, we kind of find out that she has been judged. Now, when it came to her judgment, well, let's just say she got a thumbs down. And so with that happening, she begins to, well, freak out. But now she's asking the person that she has been talking to in the chat room about the idea, have they been judged yet? And you had this person say no, but it does feel like sooner or later they are going to be judged and they're going to get a thumbs down. But we come to find out, who has she been talking to? And apparently it's one of the A.X.E. And when it comes to the A.X.E, they are a different kind of creatures of Eternals. But apparently this one right here was able to contact or somehow connect to the internet to get into a chat room to find someone to talk to. But when it comes to A.X.E, they were used as a way to attack Krakoa. They're giant-sized monsters. And so when it comes to one of the A.X.Es that has now entered some kind of chat room, it feels like when it does get judged, it is going to get a thumbs down. And the reason why? Because it has killed off millions of mutants on Krakoa. We then get into X-Men number 14, where we actually pick up with a random reporter. And we kind of find out that she just wrote an article about the idea how Iceman has saved the entire planet. And you're left to wonder, how in the world Iceman did that? How did he save the entire planet in the middle of a huge event like this, Judgment Day, where right now the entire world is being judged? And so you're left to believe, did Iceman stop the god, the new created celestial, from judging the entire world? And so then we jump back in time to figure out, what did Iceman do to save the entire world? Now, like I said earlier, this does take place after Judgment Day number 3. Either way, we kind of find out that in the middle of the Judgment Day event, we had some random aliens stop by into our solar system. And then they shot something into our sun to cause the sun to do a solar flare. And when it comes to the solar flare, it could do some serious damage to our planet. And so you had Cyclops and Magic appear to take out the aliens. But right after doing that, that is when they find out what these aliens did to our sun. And sooner or later, the Earth is about to be hit with a solar flare. Now, the reason why these aliens did that to our sun, because they still believe that right now, currently, that Game World is still around. Now remember, when it came to Game World was this random spaceship that was floating in the middle of the universe, and you had different people go there to make bets. And usually the bets were more on the idea if a planet could survive a random attack. And so something like this happening, it was more of them trying to win a bet. Either way, you have Cyclops and Magic able to stop them, but then warn the X-Men on Earth what's to come very soon. And this is where we kind of find out what Iceman did to save the entire world. See, we kind of find out that Iceman is an Omega level mutant. Matter of fact, we already knew that. But when it comes to Iceman, what he did was he was able to use his powers to kind of put up an ice barrier around the world. Now, not completely, but mostly, just big enough to take out most of the energy that came from the sun in its solar flare. Now, that is a very huge thing to do, but here comes the next problem. See, with the sun hitting that ice barrier, the ice begins to fall down into the earth. And that could cause a lot of problems in different areas across the world. And so you have other X-Men team members come in to just basically smash the ice pieces that were falling out of the sky. But you still have some of the solar flare still coming down. And so Iceman once again has to put up another barrier to catch the rest of the solar flare. Now, once you have the X-Men do all of that, well, technically, the X-Men did save the day, but really it was Iceman because his ice barrier did take most of the solar flare. It was a very huge thing for him to do, a great thing to do. So yeah, he did save the world. But to wrap up today's video, we then jump over to Cyclops paying a visit over to the Celestial. And when he does, this is really more of Cyclops going there and saying, listen, I don't care if you judge everybody else across the world to see if they're actually doing a good job or a bad job. I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot judge me. You're kind of like, wait, Cyclops, what? You are going to tell a god, a powerful being, a cosmic being, that it's not allowed to judge you? What in the world are you doing? And we come to find out that it's Cyclops saying the only person that can judge him is Jean Grey, his wife, and that is it. And after saying that, you actually have the Celestial, the judge, basically say, Cyclops, you're good, thumbs up. And I'm sitting here wondering, no, it cannot work that easily. But you have Cyclops walk away and be like, yeah, I know I'm good, and it better stay that way. And it ends on that note, like literally it ends on that note. So with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.